Welcome in. It is another Thursday night episode of the Losing Sucks Fantasy Football Podcast. And it is I, your host, Dustin Blanton, along with Travis Masterson. The dynamic duo is back again. We just finished up the Thursday night game, Travis, and it looked a little ugly to start off. It was not the slobber knocker, 60-point game that we always want and hope and dream for. But it was still entertaining. There was plenty of drama and up until the end. Patrick Mahomes doing his thing, sidearm throws. But, of course, plays were made. Good teams do what good teams do. And the Chiefs coming out on top. What are your first reactions, fantasy-wise, watching that game, impacts you think, what questions do you have? Let's get into all that. We've got our big picks today. We've got a couple other things we're looking forward to in week 2 now of the 2022 NFL season. Hit me with that Thursday night football reaction right now, Travis. What are you thinking?
The first reaction from the Chiefs side is I expected to see this type of figuring out our new weapons last week, and that was not the case. They obviously went for 5 touchdowns in 3.5 quarters, and everybody thought they already figured it out. But obviously the Chargers defense is either very for real, the Cardinals defense really sucks, or the Chiefs are just going to, have those monstrous games followed by pedestrian games. Patrick Mahomes with just about, what do you have, 230, around 230 with 2 scores. Mike Williams is the one guy that looked great start to finish. Eckler was really slow to get started, finished okay with a lot of garbage time catches. Juju, Where is Juju Smith-Schuster? Is he a buy low, or are you worried about him having an actual consistent role in this offense?
I'm concerned, not necessarily because of talent, but because of, like you said, because of the role, because of what this offense wants to do. They want to spread it around. We saw plenty of what seemed like useless targets to MVS, and they're not even those deep, valuable targets to where you're like, oh, wow, okay, well, if MVS hits one of those, it's game over. Juju's getting his intermediate slot stuff, and he's getting stuff, on screens. You're seeing, Clyde getting a lot of stuff close to the line of scrimmage. Kelsey's involved, but not exactly the focal point. Granted, it's early, but this could be just what we're going to have to expect from the Chiefs offense, where they win games, score points, control the tempo, and they're not this huge juggernaut that they have been. They'll beat up on terrible defenses like Arizona has, and then, other games like this where they're facing quality opponents, they just do enough to win.
Yeah, it sucks when you see Kelsey go for his 51 yards after what we've come to expect from him is kind of 75 in a score. So when he just gives you 50, it feels like you're fighting uphill already going into the week. So
Right.
As somebody who has a lot of Travis Kelce across the board, I'm a little disappointed tonight. I know Patrick Mahomes owners are probably even more disappointed tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just, it happens. Last year, the Chiefs did that for like the first 6 weeks, and they ended up riding the ship. So we'd love to hear y'all's reactions. Anybody who is in here at the moment or is going to sign on, if you have any initial reactions to the Thursday night game, let us know. We've got some good content to cover tonight. We've got big picks. I know Dustin already mentioned guys that we think are going to smash their projections, some stuff that we are watching closely. But yeah, that's all I've got on the Thursday night reaction.
Well, I've got a couple things. I mean, we saw Mike Williams.
Oh yeah.
We got Mike. I want to talk about Mike Williams. I want to talk about Clyde. Clyde is back, baby. Clyde's back, baby. You see him hold on to that ball at the end of that game. He was not letting that go. Run for 25 yards, and you know what? That's the guy. That's why you took him over Jonathan Taylor in fantasy. That's why those runs right there. That's the overall fantasy RB1.
No doubt.
No doubt. Like I said, Mike Williams came to play. But we got some other stuff, other games coming on this week, Travis, in the second week of the NFL season. I know I've got stuff that I'm wanting to pay attention to, by name, I guess. However you word that. The thing I'm paying attention to this week, Travis, is this Ravens offense.
Okay.
Okay. Heading into another week, they face a team that should give up more of a fight than the Miami Dolphins did in week 1. I'm looking for a couple things in particular. I'm looking for Rashad Bateman to be involved more, hopefully get more than the 5 targets, 2 receptions that he had. He did have a couple of, big touchdowns, or 1 touchdown.
Big
bailout touchdown, if you will. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then you've got J.K. Dobbins, potentially making his debut, and that's going to be huge. That's, if he can come back and actually be a viable option, look, even 75% of his former self while he works his self back into shape, I think that would be a huge vote of confidence for the people who manage him and, on their rosters and have him rostered across their leagues. That's what you look for with your top 3 round draft picks. So that's going to be the first thing that I look for. What about you? What's one thing that you're going to be looking for as well?
The first thing I'm looking for is, are we going to be able to rely on Antonio Gibson to be a 20-touch guy? What we saw week 1 was, yes, this is the Antonio Gibson that you drafted midsummer before the NFL draft, and it was a very welcome sight to those of us who have a lot of Antonio Gibson. I don't think it was just because they were playing Jacksonville. I think Antonio Gibson is going to be a huge part of this offense, especially with Robinson out. We've said it last week. I think he stays hot. He continues to roll. But I want to see not just, 12 to 14 touches and maybe he breaks a long one. I want a 20-touch mark. That's the benchmark that I think Antonio Gibson needs to try to hit, or we want Antonio Gibson to hit while Robinson is out. So that's the first thing I'll be looking for. Another one is DJ Moore. Do the Panthers start to kind of manufacture touches to him? How long does that take for he and Baker to develop that chemistry?
Yeah.
I saw a quote today that the coaching staff wanted to get Christian McCaffrey more involved. Obviously, you always want Christian McCaffrey more involved.
Yeah. Hey, guys, let's get our best player more involved in the offense. I feel like that's not a mystery. That's not something that should be a lot of thought put into it. Yeah. I understand, wanting DJ Moore to get the ball, especially, in that matchup. Who do they have this week? I think the Panthers, do they have the Giants this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, they face the Giants. Similar situation to, the other guy that I'm looking to see have a good game in week 2 in Allen Robinson for the Rams. They've got a pretty good matchup. Same thing with DJ Moore. DJ Moore goes against the Giants who, last week were 30th in coverage. So that's definitely something to, hopefully keep your fingers crossed and a little bit of a boost for DJ Moore's production. But Allen Robinson, we need something from him, man. We touted him all off season. You more so than me, but still I came on, towards the, closer to the season. And then the central goose egg that he put up in week 1, now he faces Atlanta, and you've got rumors that Sean McVay is going to be, looking to specifically get Allen Robinson involved in the offense. That's what you want to hear as an Allen Robinson manager, but you need to see it, especially against a struggling Atlanta Falcons defense.
Yep. Let's see. There was a third. Oh, yeah, the Cowboys. Will they be unusable across the board? That is the fear in every fantasy owner's mind right now that has any shares of CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, specifically Zeke, and Tony Pollard even more so, because defenses are not going to respect this passing attack is what people are thinking. I tweeted earlier in the week, we talked about it last show, I think Cooper Rush is better than what people think. He just we haven't seen it yet, but can he at least laser focus enough on just 2 guys in CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz to where you're okay playing them every week? when you look at the name CeeDee Lamb, and he does not give you the automatic starter vibes, that is very worrisome for his price. So can he hang on until Dak comes back? I think so. I think you kind of have to leave him in there and see if he burns you this week and gives you a 2 or a 3. Kind of like Metcalf. Like if DK comes out and he's giving you a 2 or 3 again, it's going to get real dicey with some of these big name receivers. I hope CeeDee's not one of those guys.
Right. Yeah, I saw a stat that was put online that CeeDee Lamb has had only one 100-yard game in the last year. It was week 8 of 2021 against the Minnesota Vikings, and his quarterback for that game was Cooper Rush. So it's definitely possible. We've seen it before, but I understand what you're saying. These Cowboys are not the same as them Cowboys, so definitely worrisome and unsettling heading into this game. You're going to need to see it to believe it. Same thing
it feels
with...
like you have no idea what to expect, which is...
right.
That's a terrible feeling in your gut going into Sunday with somebody like that.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Breece Hall, man. He's someone that I really believe has that talent, has that skill, has the ability to take over his position on his own team, much like CeeDee Lamb. We need the opportunity, though. We need the stars to align. We need Michael Carter not to have, as much of a workload as he has. And I'm hoping that's not the theme, the whole offense and what they're trying to do, because I feel like he is more deserving of a role bigger than that.
You've touted him all offseason. We say this. I feel like we say this every show. It's not his fault that he's on the Jets and that Michael Carter is not a terrible player. It's just a situation that may take a little longer to develop. Do you have Breece Hall in over a guy like Darrell Henderson or Cordarrelle Patterson?
I have him over Cordarrelle Patterson, yeah.
Okay.
I don't... It depends on the matchup. Like this week, no, I don't have Breece Hall over Darrell Henderson.
That's what I mean. Is it just matchup based, or is he going to have to show a lot more to consistently be ranked inside your top 20?
To be anything more than a flex, and in all honesty, he's probably just a mid-tier flex at this point, because you need, like, at least to give you confidence. Like, it's nothing to, like, I believe in his talent 100%. I believe he is a do-it-all back. And you know what? The stats show, like, last week among rookie running backs, he had the most targets, receptions, and the most yards. So it's not for a lack of ability. It's opportunity, it's the offense, it's the game script, and the fact that, like you said, Michael Carter's just not a terrible player. I don't think he's the same level of talent, but that's not to say that the team, the team believes in him, and he kind of goes along with their line of thinking. And sometimes in the NFL, that's all it takes is a guy that the coaching staff has confidence in and believes in. So it's just going to take some time for him to make some plays, and I think he will. But until then, make sure don't trade him away. If you're going to target someone in a trade, I think this may be another week that keeps that trade window open, unless he goes and flashes that talent. You kind of play at your own risk, essentially. With a talent like that, I think he can pop off and close any window of trade value that is out there right now.
I want to hear your quick take to a trade that I made this morning. It's a standard home league, and I was deeper at receiver. I still am pretty deep at receiver, but much deeper at receiver than running back. And Breece Hall is somebody that I am not comfortable starting yet, especially after starting 0-1 in the home league. So moving what Michael Thomas was doing was clogging up my flex, because it's guys like DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas, Alan Lazard, Mooney. It's a lot of receivers. I have to bench two or three of those guys every week. So I might as well move one. Michael Thomas, coming off 2 touchdowns, returned me Travis Etienne, who I feel like is a plug-and-play, every week comfortable starter. I think he was a touchdown away from being absolutely blown up on social media this week of, this is the guy you drafted. That's all it was.
There were a couple times he made drops. For sure. Yeah, he made some ugly drops, and he was overthrown a couple times, missed some opportunities. Not to get into everything I've covered last episode about how dynamic Travis Etienne is, but I would say I think the Michael Thomas narrative is yet to grow into its full form. I feel like seeing him do what he did and the confidence that Jameis Winston has, I feel like you might have sold a little short. Okay. But Travis
this
Etienne,
is coming from somebody who loved Etienne.
I love Etienne. I love Etienne. But the guys on your roster, like, this is just personal preference. Like, I would have taken Michael Thomas and turned him into a bigger name wide receiver or someone who's guaranteed volume. I love Travis Etienne, but we've already talked about Travis Etienne also has a James Robinson problem. I believe in Etienne as well. He's much like Breece Hall. The opportunity it just happens to be that he is splitting with another talented back who the coaching staff also believes in. It's nothing against Etienne. It's just you have Michael Thomas, who is a number one wide receiver, who you could have maybe even turned him in. Him and Mooney or him and DJ Moore. Maybe you trade both those guys and go get like a Devontae Adams or something like that. But like.
So you're saying should have thought even bigger.
Should have thought even bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, name value was there.
It's tough to trade with people 1 week in.
It is.
And it's tough to acquire an absolute superstar.
It is
1 week in. So
especially if that team won with that superstar, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like I said, DJ Moore and like a Michael Thomas. Even then, like I would have, probably had to really pile it on. But you know what? It's not a terrible trade. I think you can still make some money off of that. Let's talk some big picks though, Travis.
Wait, check in on these comments real quick.
Let's stay up
to date here.
All right, we'll hold off on the big picks. Move into the comments. What do we got?
We've got Jacob and Fabian Vasquez. The double Fabian here on a live show on a Thursday night. Big night for Big Mike is absolutely right. Jacob, I believe, was the first one to call it that I saw on Twitter. Subconsciously, right. I think about 6 hours later, I was thinking, who's going off this week? And it was like Mike Williams. And then I saw Jacob's tweet again, and I'm like, maybe that's where I got that from. Jacob is a part of Losing Sucks, always puts out incredible content, and is always on the ball.
That's right.
Fabian Vasquez, Juju sold me. This is absolutely correct. Juju is selling everybody right now. Dustin, is he a buy low? Jacob Fabian, is he a buy low for you?
Oh man, for me a buy low.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't believe in him being the guy on that offense. It's early, this offense has much more to show, but we saw a 5 touchdown game in which he had a killer first half and then wasn't seen again. So I guess it'll depend on the schedule. That's really just kind of where we're at with them. I mean, their schedule coming up, they've got the Colts, the Buccaneers, the Raiders, the Bills. Not exactly super easy, against for wide receivers. I mean, second half of the season, it lightens up a little bit, but for right now, I guess you could buy low. Maybe he pops off one of those games. I don't think he'd cost much, but sure, I would say yes. He's a buy low candidate in a PPR league, absolutely.
Who is somebody that you would be willing to give up for Juju?
Oh boy,
if somebody came to you and said Alan Lazard for Juju, would you take it? Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I would take that. I would trade Adam Thielen for him.
Okay, so he's still well inside your top 25. He's just off to a slow start.
Yeah, he's a low end wide receiver too right now. Okay. For sure.
Fair enough.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, I'm ready for big picks.
Let's roll. Let's roll into our big picks of week 2. Travis, like we talked about earlier this week, we did not do such a great job of big picks last week. Now, to refresh your memory, our big picks are the players for week 2 that have to outperform their projection by 5 points. And my quarterback for this week is none other than the prodigal son who has a little bit of tarnish on him right now, Trey Lance. He is getting a mulligan for me, and he is facing Seattle in San Francisco. There's a couple things that I want to bring up because they're relevant for this matchup. One, Seattle has a Swiss cheese secondary now without Jamal Adams. Kind of opens it up even more. Jamal Adams, losing out on the season for a torn quad. And, Russ was able to, granted, I'm not trying to compare Trey Lance's passing ability to Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson was able to throw for 340 yards. The only thing that I'm a little bit worried about in this matchup is that it is predicting to rain. 90% chance of rain in San Francisco on Sunday. It is an afternoon game, so maybe the rain subsides, but I don't trust it. It doesn't make quarterbacks, especially ones who have trouble with accuracy, even more accurate. So I am willing to bet that it's not another monsoon as we saw in Chicago. So I think Trey Lance is able to, control the game a little bit more with his legs. He ran 13 times last game, which, maybe this is where we see a little bit more of that rushing floor. But at his projection, I think that this is a matchup he's going to be able to outperform that projection. So Trey Lance, my quarterback big pick of week 2.
If Jimmy gets this job back,
stop
games into the season, is rain the reason that Jimmy G is starting again?
Why are we having this conversation?
If it pours week 2, are you blaming the rain for Trey Lance not keeping his job? If he sucks with it this week and they lose one of the next 2 and they start 1-3, they pull the plug.
They're not going to pull the plug. They're not going to pull the plug. It's not going to happen. Right. The only way Jimmy's seeing the field is if it's on another team. I do not think they pull the plug.
I disagree. I think he's got the same leash that Tua's going to have.
No, not at all.
All right, I'm going with Derek Carr. We just saw Patrick Mahomes give the Cardinals 30 completions for 39 passes, 365 yards, and 5 scores, as everybody knows, in less than 4 quarters. We saw the Fresno State connection, and it looked to be very real between Derek Carr and Davante Adams. The new shiny toy will do some damage in this one. I feel like Derek Carr is going to wake up on Sunday with 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I projected Derek Carr all offseason to hit the 5,000-yard mark and throw for 36 or more touchdowns. These are the games that help to give you a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a buffer for some down weeks.
Yep.
I didn't realize last week he threw for 295. He's right on pace for 5,000 right now.
Sure.
I think he leaves this game having 700 yards through 2 weeks. So that would give him 405 yards this weekend, I think, in a shootout with Kyler Murray.
You and the shootouts.
These are bad defenses right now. There's not a worse defense, at least through week 1. I know it's a small sample size, but the Cardinals just got absolutely torched. You don't just fix that in a week. So,
but the Raiders aren't as bad as Arizona.
The other narrative that I saw this afternoon was Davante Adams' family and grandparents or grandma, first game that they have seen him play in a long time in person, which is part of the reason why he came to Vegas. He's got everybody in town for this game. He's going. So
we're using the grandparents' narrative.
Yes, the grandparents' narrative. He said, actually, I put them up at the MGM. I'm sure their room is great. He's going to go bonkers for them with the family in attendance. Derek Carr is going to reap the rewards.
Do you think that if Derek Carr doesn't throw for 300 yards, that we're going to see Jarrett Stidham start by week 5? Do you think when Jarrett Stidham takes Derek Carr's job?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Derek Carr is a former MVP finalist in this league. He is the reason that Davante Adams came to Vegas. Derek, do you think Derek Carr is going under 300?
No chance. Definitely possible.
No chance. I guess Mahomes just did it tonight.
Okay, well then let's talk about my big pick of the week then in running back Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I see the hesitancy about Carr because he's going to run all over people. Okay.
Absolutely. Josh Jacobs is my big pick of the week. I think, of course, yes, the secondary is very, very bad for the Arizona Cardinals. They also don't have much in the way of run defense as well. That whole defense is very not good. And I think that the what the MO of a Josh McDaniels offense is to run the ball and to get it to your number one wide receiver. And whereas I do think they're going to get it to the receiving weapons, I think a lot of the touchdown scoring will be done on the ground. And that's just the way I see it. I see Josh Jacobs, went last week, against the Chargers, who are pretty stout against the run, this season. They've actually not been too bad. He went for 10 for 57, and he had a catch for 16 yards, so he's involved. I think that Josh Jacobs is going to outperform his projection, which is what these big picks are. He might not necessarily be, a top 5 running back option this week, but I pick him in this kind of a game where they can use him in all facets of the game to beat his projection. So Josh Jacobs in this hopeful shootout on the ground, Josh Jacobs is my pick.
All right. I don't mind it. I think everybody eats on that offense except Hunter Renfrow because I think he's going to get phased out pretty quick. I will go receiver here, and it will be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra coming off of a 12-target outing in week 1, picking up right where he left off. Jared Goff's favorite target. He is his new Cooper Kupp. I saw that narrative a few times in the offseason and rolled my eyes. What we saw week 1 is a very accurate assessment.
He locks on.
Everyone knows how hot Amon-Ra was. So, I have to say I doubted it coming into year 2. I thought this was an anomaly of the back half of the season. TJ Hawkinson was hurt. Swift was hurt. That is not why Amon-Ra St. Brown is good. He is a very good player. Washington just gave up 383 yards of offense to Jacksonville in week 1. I feel like Detroit, as a whole, their offense is better than Jacksonville at this point. Would you agree, or are you saying Jacksonville is better?
I would say that Detroit is probably a better offense at this point. It's probably close, to be honest with you. It's probably pretty close.
I feel like they're a little bit more like a well-oiled machine. Just another year together. It's not like they're not in the figure out stage. They know who they are. They know what they want to do.
Sure. I mean, we need to see more consistency, but yeah, I hear what you're saying for sure.
Finally, third reason, Christian Kirk just gave Washington 117 yards on 12 targets. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to feast. 49-point over-under is going to allow for a lot of offense in this one. Swift, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm starting all of my Lions. All of them.
All of them?
All my Lions. Yeah, because I have so many Lions.
I was going to say, how many do you have? Starting DJ Chark.
I actually have 0 shares of Amon-Ra
the
St. Brown.
backup tight end. I've still got some love for Craig Reynolds last year. He's in my starting lineup. I'm just putting them all in.
Start all your Lions. Maybe the only time you hear that this year.
Start all your Lions.
Yeah.
Oh, my big pick of the week at wide receiver this week, Travis, is none other than the Hall of Famer to be, and that is Julio Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This week, he gets a juicy matchup against New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is supposed to have a stout defense, but we saw what Drake London did to them going, I believe it was 5 or 7 for 74.
Yeah.
Look, Julio Jones is not the number one option. Mike Evans is. And so Mike Evans should be drawing the number one coverage. For whatever reason, it would make sense then for Julio Jones to get the number 2 coverage in that offense, being with Russell Gage, still a little bit banged up. And you've got Chris Godwin out for this week. I think Julio Jones is going to eat this team alive, and it's a team that he knows well in the Saints, having played them for years, being in the NFC South.
Yeah.
So I think, especially last week, we saw Julio go, 5 targets, 3 receptions for 69 yards, and that was, of course, missing a huge, couple plays that Tom Brady was going for him.
Barely.
He is a favorite target. We see this all the time where Tom Brady trusts a guy. He knows he's going to get open, and so he will target him. I think Julio is going to see, around that 7-8 target mark, but he's going to hit these big plays. He can score. He didn't score in the previous game, and for me, that's the difference between him hitting and beating his projection this week, which is what we're trying to do here. Julio Jones in New Orleans is a smash play for me this week.
I like it. I think 80 to 90 yards feels safe.
It's definitely within the realm. Absolutely.
Which is wild to say after the offseason of Julio Jones, but hey, you
No
watched
joke.
him and the eye test says he's still got it. So
Right.
and there's a need for it. The team needs it, which is more important than anything. It's not like he's fighting with Godwin and Gage and Evans and it's Gronk. They need him. So 80, 90
sure.
yards, I think. Yeah, like you said, the touchdown is going to be the deciding factor there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go running back, and it is Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers, Sunday night at home. An angry Green Bay Packers team after losing to the Vikings. Whoever is playing the Packers this Sunday on defense is going to have a rough, long night. They're going to get a lot of Aaron Jones, a lot of Dillon, and a lot of Aaron Rodgers. It's too early to say get right game, but we know the history of Rodgers and the Bears. Back in Lambeau to let everybody know we're fine, and this offense is going to be fine without Devontae Adams. I think they are going to be very motivated to put up 30-plus points. Aaron Jones, I feel like Aaron Jones is going to have 120 yards and a score.
Oh, goodness.
We've seen
lofty.
it from him so many times.
For sure. For whatever reason, I don't know that it all feels different, Aaron Rodgers only saw like 8 targets, 8 touches last week. And,
Aaron Jones?
What did I say?
Yeah. Rodgers.
That
Aaron
game,
Jones. I feel like that game was fluky from the start. When Watson dropped that long touchdown, everything changed, and then all of a sudden you're burned by Jetta and you're coming from behind. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I see what you're saying. Everything does look different, but that's what I'm saying. I think it's not going to look that different once Allen Lazard is back out there. They've got some familiar faces. Another game under the belt for Tunyon at home Sunday night. I feel like we see vintage Rodgers.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to say I hope so.
Sad for the Bears.
I'm not going to say I hope so. I have my doubts, but I do think there are weapons that can hurt the Bears this week, which is why my big pick of the week at tight end is actually none other than the Packers tight end, Robert Tunyon.
Nice.
I look at this offense for the Packers much more similar.
Very similarly.
It's very similar to – it's late, man, and I can't talk. I look at this offense in the same light as the Kansas City offense. We're going to spread it out. We want to get different guys involved, and we're going to trust the guys that we have to make plays. And I think Robert Tunyon, we saw last week, have some run, make some plays. He's still breaking tackles and looking for ways to get yards after the catch, which is what he does. And since we're looking for Aaron Rodgers to have more trust in some guys, who better than a guy who he's thrown and had success with, and Robert Tunyon. We've seen him have success. I think this is a perfect game for him to have a touchdown in the red zone, be that safety blanket, and maybe he is a benefactor of the get right game. I have my questions. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a Bears homer, but I still think that in the end, I think Green Bay is going to obviously do what Green Bay does with Chicago, and it's going to be whatever they want.
Yeah, I don't feel like you can't pick a safer opponent for a get-right game.
I will say this. I'll give it a caveat. Everyone I've talked to who knows the Bears and who knows that organization right now has been telling me that this is not like anything we've seen in the last 5 years.
That's
the entire defense is bought in, and that's why we're seeing some outperforming, early in the season. I think this a little asterisk. This could be the game I'm saying that the Bears actually steal from Green Bay. It would not shock me.
Wow. Okay, you don't think that it happens, but it wouldn't shock you. Out of 10, you're giving it a 3?
Give it like a 4.5.
Okay, 45%.
Because look, just one little stat. The number one quarterback in pass time to throw last week, Justin Fields.
All right. I'm not going to say 45%.
Don't break my heart.
45% sounds high. Aaron Rodgers at home versus a team that he owns. Not my quote.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz as my tight end big pick of the week. Here's
Cooper
my
Rush
reasoning.
gonna support the guy.
It's a pretty simple reasoning. I'm going narrative of a backup quarterback comes in. They're looking to who is right there in front of their face as a safety valve for 5 to 7 yards at a time. I think that's what Dalton Schultz was always going to be this year for Dak.
Okay.
Is the 5 to 7 yard, the occasional 15-yard big play. He is not an elite tight end in my eyes. I have been saying it all offseason. People are overdrafting Dalton Schultz. However, with Cooper Rush coming in, I think he's going to be looking for that safety valve. Dalton Schultz does that really well. The 5 yards and out, 5-yard little button hook, he's going to be there and available. So I think Dalton Schultz is a safe bet for 6 to 8 catches, not targets, but 6 to 8 catches for 50 to 65 yards and hopefully a touchdown. So I think the volume itself, when you're talking 8 catches, you're going to beat your projection. So I think volume alone, Dalton Schultz barely edges out his what is probably around an 11-point projection. So in a half PPR, that's 60 yards and a score. So it really comes down to a touchdown again too, but he'll be the clear number 2 there. Yeah, it really does.
Right. No, I can see it. I love that you're ever the optimist for these guys. And who knows? Maybe they can do it. Maybe Cooper Rush just has that one game magic. You know,
they should be coming from behind the whole second half.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would
45% chance.
Yeah. Who do they have? Who do they have this week?
Cincinnati.
Oh, jeez. All right. Yeah, they're definitely going to be trailing.
They should be trying to play catch up, and Dalton Schultz is going to be there.
For sure. Yeah, that's gonna be a game to watch. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. For the sake of our big picks record, I need you to be right. For sure, man. Man, there's a lot of stuff we're looking forward to in week 2, man. That absolutely. I mean, I think one thing that I'm really looking forward to is seeing that Travis Etienne take over James Robinson. I think that's what I'm really fingers crossed for.
What if it doesn't? Do you think who do you prefer of the two? If let's say if I tell you James Robinson is going to have 15 touches a week and Etienne is going to have 12, whose touches do you want?
Oh, Etienne's.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like he's not Swift. Those were the comparisons in the offseason and the upside of he could be the next Swift. He should be the next Swift. He's electric. I watched those highlights over and over today when making this selection. I mean, before making this trade and moving Michael Thomas. And I thought, he's so close to being that. It's not going to take much.
Yeah, he is very close. He is very close. Just the way that they use him lends to big fantasy weeks. So I would say hold out hope for sure. For sure.
What about another rookie? Is there a rookie that you're really wanting to see that you didn't see much from or you saw a lot from that you think, is that real or is that a fluke?
A rookie? That's...
Yeah. I know you love your rookies. Is there somebody that
Yeah,
you're like,
I don't think we're going to see it this week. I want more from Treylon Burks, obviously. We didn't see that much from him in the Tennessee Titans going into Buffalo. It's just not going to be pretty. So I don't really expect it's what we've talked about in the offseason. Treylon Burks is going to be a guy who gets off to a slow start and you can trade for, and he'll be the number one option on that team, or at least close to it, later in the season. Same thing with Drake London. Drake London, I want more from. This is going to be another buy low window after this week when he goes up against Jalen Ramsey probably, and he struggles. And then you can go and get him, and then he's going to be cheap.
I like it. I like that call.
Yeah.
Do we see a return for Adam Thielen, or is this the beginning of the end that everybody has been so scared of?
No, I think
he's fine.
Yeah, if you watch the game, he looks fine. He's not struggling to get open. It's just
The stat line
he
was
was
horrible.
He was open, but Jefferson was wide open the entire time. And when that guy gets rolling like that, it's just, I don't know, if you read or if you listen to what Kirk Cousins is saying in the interviews that came out about Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is the biggest Justin Jefferson fan, and he is the one that told Justin Jefferson, like, hey, don't just settle for what everyone else is doing. Go above and beyond, like absolutely destroy the league, and you'll love to see that. That's exactly what you want from your quarterback.
All right, let me give
ahead.
you 2 to 3 minutes here of just straight this guy or that guy. If you feel like you want to give a reason why,
Sure.
you can. If you don't, just say the name.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all going to be very tough.
Oh, great. I love it.
Brandon Cooks at Denver, Jalen Waddle at Baltimore.
I'm going Cooks.
Okay, I agree with you. Melvin Gordon at home versus Houston.
Okay.
Breece Hall at home versus Cleveland.
Ooh. Ooh, that is tough.
These are all surprised. Dustin has no idea what I'm asking.
Yeah, I have no idea about these at all. I'm gonna go Melvin. I'm gonna go Melvin because I feel like he's gonna get some scoring opportunities there.
All right, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, definitely. Against
At home versus the Vikings.
Yeah, for sure. He's a buy low candidate for me. If you can get your hands on Devonta Smith after people see that and assume that he's not going to have any productive weeks now, like absolutely pounce all over that.
Particularly in Dynasty.
Yeah, I just saw some crazy stuff go down for him.
Get him. He is an amazing receiver. The A.J. Brown hype is throwing a huge dark cloud over Devontae Smith that should not be there.
A.J. Brown, deservedly so, is going to be a mammoth this year.
Yes.
But Devonta Smith is not nothing. He's going to be a wide receiver too, for all intents and purposes.
All right, Rashad Penny at San Francisco or Miles Sanders at home versus the Vikings.
Miles Sanders. Yeah. Kenneth Walker is expected to play some.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, he's expected to play some. I would try if you can to sell Rashad Penny on what they saw from week one. That's what I would personally be doing because that was
I thought he looked fine. He had a lot of yards called back for offensive holding.
Yeah, no, he
they
did.
Never got
the
ball back
sure.
after 7 minutes left in the game.
But I think that they're going to give their second round rookie more opportunities heading into as he gets more up to speed. This may be another week where Rashad Penny looks good. So maybe the trade window is still open, but I'm looking to sell Rashad Penny soon.
All right, last one here. Darnell Mooney at Green Bay Sunday night, as we have said, who is coming off of a 1-catch, 8-yard game, or Michael Thomas versus Tampa Bay, who just gave Dallas absolute fits.
Yeah, I'm going to go Michael Thomas there.
Okay.
I think Michael Thomas is just that good.
5 catches for 50 yards.
Yeah, on 61% of the snaps, absolutely. Yeah, that's
a good
once
point.
Once they realized, hey, we need Michael Thomas to get us back in the game, they did exactly that. So Michael Thomas is still that dude. I think people are going to regret not taking him when they had the chance.
It's taking me a lot longer, man. It's taking me a lot longer to come around on Michael Thomas. I don't know if it's being burned last year. Obviously, that's still going to hurt.
Who could blame you?
Or my not secret love of Jarvis Landry. That I think he is the number one target. I mean, I think he leads the team in catches and yards on the season if everybody stays healthy.
I don't know, man. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be more and more Michael Thomas gets open. Jarvis Landry's great. Absolutely. He's going to be a wide receiver 2 on that team. He's not going to be a wide receiver 2. He'll end up the season like as a wide receiver 3. But
if I gave you the stat line of 6 catches, 119 yards and a score.
Sure.
Do you feel like that's more likely to be Michael Thomas's stat line or Darnell Mooney's?
But this week?
Pretty much any week. 6 for
Yeah,
119.
that's Michael Thomas. Yeah.
119? How
Yeah.
is Michael Thomas turning 6 catches into 119? He can barely run.
He can
He
barely
can shake
run.
side to side, and he can slant.
He can barely
Darnell Mooney
run?
is gone for
Okay,
50.
first of all, Michael Thomas didn't run a single slant in that game. Like, the dude was running downfield routes.
5 for 50.
Oh, my gosh.
6 becoming 119 or 109 is a huge difference. He's not running away from anybody. As soon as he catches it, he's going down.
Oh, boy.
He just needs to catch it in the end zone. I like Mooney. If I see a stat line of 119 and a score, I'm going to err on the side of that's not Michael Thomas because I don't think that's what he's going to be.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's
We're going to watch that close this weekend.
For sure. Michael Thomas,
Mooney
Darnell Mooney.
and Thomas, because I think Tampa is insanely good on defense.
Does Jair Alexander still play for the Green Bay Packers?
You know what? He did not. Part of the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm surprised he was not shadowing Justin Jefferson.
You don't shadow Justin Jefferson. You just don't do it.
Why?
Because, all right, so if you want to go into the whole scheme of it, is because Jair Alexander plays formation specific. So it's not always going to be Justin Jefferson. It's going to be, okay, we want to take this guy out of this formation, and then that's who they go with. You know,
Well, it didn't work.
No, they play a lot of zone too. Jair Alexander he played a couple snaps on Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson made him look silly. They're not the same player. I love Darnell Mooney, but he's not Justin Jefferson. He's not going to be someone who's going to absolute break you down with elite route running. He's fast, but Jair Alexander is very good and very technical. He uses angles. If you watch that game, he always looks for that angle. So, you know, not to get so technical into like the football sense of it, but yeah, I think they're gonna be fine.
Darnell Mooney last year against Green Bay. I know Alexander was hurt. This is not helping my argument. This is actually hurting it. But I am okay to face reality.
Sure.
Versus Green Bay, 5 catches, 45 yards, and a score. That's a very Michael Thomas stat line there.
Oh my God.
1 catch on 5 targets for 19 yards at Green Bay in a loss, 30-45. 75-point total.
I remember that game
last year.
I remember that game. It's a lot of scoring in the first half.
I want pieces of that game. I really do. I want Lazard. I want Mooney. Mooney versus Michael Thomas. You heard it here first. We will make some sort of bet. We will post it on Twitter. I think Mooney. Do we want to make this a 1 week thing or something we track for 3 or 4?
Good
I don't know
question.
the schedules, but shouldn't Michael Thomas be matchup proof?
Michael Thomas is very good. I don't think he's going to have a problem with Carlton Davis. You know what? That's actually a really interesting narrative as we get ready to say goodbye for this show. The last time Michael Thomas played, it was before, or it was after. It was before. Carlton Davis had said that Michael Thomas only runs slants and he can't beat him. So this is the first time they'll get to play after he gave him shade. You know, back in the '80s, it feels like.
We're gonna see so many slants.
We didn't see a single slant. That's neither here nor there. Michael Thomas, Darnell Mooney, you heard it here. We're going to be watching that matchup like a hawk.
That's it.
But for now, that's been week 2, Thursday Night Football recap, our big picks. Thank you so much for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Losing Sucks. And make sure you check out our new website over at losingsucksfantasy.com. A lot of fun stuff over there, and it's going to keep growing, so we look forward to seeing you over there as well. As always, y'all, I am Dustin Bland. That's Travis Masterson. Losing sucks. Don't do it.